It's a great honor to be elected AMS president. It is an election, so I ran against one other candidate, and I was informed around November 2014 that I had been elected president-elect. So you're president-elect for 1 year, which was the year 2015, basically. And last January, at the New Orleans annual meeting, I became officially the AMS president for the year 2016. My primary responsibility is to organize and run the 2017 annual meeting, which is next January in Seattle. So my big effort is to plan various forums and symposiums at the 2017 annual meeting. AMS is the American Meteorological Society. It was founded in 1919 in Boston. We're actually planning a tremendous centennial event for the year 2019, culminating with an annual meeting in Boston in 2020. So there's a big centennial committee, and that's going to be a very exciting time. So the AMS consists of many commissions and boards and committees that run the business of the society. So we have 1,000 to 2,000 volunteers sitting on over 100 commissions and boards and committees that run the gamut from professional affairs, like consulting meteorologists and broadcast meteorologists, to educational issues from high school or K-12 all the way up to university. We have a Weather Enterprise Commission that deals with how the private sector and government and academia interact. And a few more, but and the main activities of the AMS are three. One is we publish about 10 major journals. They're very highly respected journals, so there's an enormous effort to have very high quality journals with lots of volunteer editors and a lot of paid editorial staff at the AMS to put the publications together. A second major function is running meetings. So we run over 40 meetings a year, 25 or so are at the annual meeting. So the annual meeting is an enormous event with over 25 conferences and symposiums and 4,000 people. And then there's about 10 or 12 specialty meetings scattered throughout the US. There was just a tropical meteorology conference in Puerto Rico that some School of Meteorology students went to. So that was one of the AMS specialty meetings. So the meetings and the publications are our two major activities. Simply go online and fill out a one or two page form, and you can become a student member. And I'm going to start encouraging all of our students to become members, because if you become a member while you're a student, it's a very low rate, like $20 or something like that, and you get the bulletin and access to all the news and events and go into the conferences and things. And then after you leave and get a job, you can still get like very low rates for 5 years afterwards to help people during their low-income part of their career, say, still remain as a member of the AMS. So it's pretty easy to join. There's categories for meteorologists. There's also categories for non-meteorologists. So just weather enthusiasts who are interested in the weather but aren't majoring in it or working in the field can still become a member of the AMS. But in my own career, I just went step by step, not imagining that I was going to get to the next highest step. So I was fortunate to go to grad school, and then I was fortunate to go to the PhD level, and then fortunate to get a position here, and I just kept working hard, and I have a very, in my gene pool, I have a very strong service orientation from my family. So I've always been active in the profession, and I've done a lot of professional service for the AMS, for NOAA, for NCAR, and all these organizations. So that's probably why I was considered to be a candidate for the AMS president. Well, in terms of the AMS, you know, on every single committee that AMS has, these 100 committees, we want student members. So, for example, there's an AMS committee on broadcast meteorology, and there's a student member on that right now, but every committee can have 1 or 2 student members. So if you happen to know someone on a committee, you can just contact them or contact the members anyway. You can go online and see the members and their emails. You can just Google, more detail than you want. You can Google any AMS committee, and there's a site on the AMS website where you can scroll through all the committees, and you can look at the membership of any committee or board in the AMS. If it's a committee you'd like to be on, you could contact them, say you're interested in being a member. And that would be my first advice for students who graduate and want to become involved in the AMS. They should get themselves on what we call a STAC committee, which is the Science and Technical Advisory Committees. And those are the committees that put on the conferences. So they're always willing to have new blood and students and young professionals helping to plan all these AMS meetings. So one piece of, try to go to the annual meeting. You know, at the annual meeting, there's, you know, like I say, between 3,000 and 4,000 people there, and there's a lot of choices for things to attend. And you could actually attend, all of these boards and committees meet during the annual meeting at some point, and people are allowed to sit in on a lot of these meetings, even if you're not a member, because it's an open society. Volunteer society. So the biggest advice is to go network at the annual meeting. You know, there's a career fair there. You can try to find people that you can see on these committees. You can try to find them one way or another, or ask one of the faculty to introduce you to people. So if you see me at the annual meeting, I can probably introduce you to people that you'd like to meet. More than you want to know. No, we're doing something very special with it. I created a theme for the annual meeting, which is called Observations Lead the Way. And this is a very broad topic because it not only refers to weather observations that we think of routinely that go into weather forecasting and go into numerical models. It means data about the state of our climate. It also means information about the social aspects of our field. How do people respond to weather, and how do they respond to warnings? How do they receive information? How do they interpret it? And how do they respond to it? So we're going to have a whole symposium on the social aspects of meteorology and how people understand what we're telling them, and how they respond, and how our messaging should improve. So we know we make good forecasts sometimes and people still die. So you know, how do we improve our messaging and our communication? So we're going to have a whole symposium on that. We're also going to have a whole symposium on observations, naturally. And we're going to have 16 speakers talking about the greatest observational needs in every aspect of our discipline: lower troposphere, upper troposphere, oceans, rivers, land surface, you know, and the whole atmosphere and the oceans. And then we're going to have something called the Presidential Forum, which leads off the conference at 9 a.m. on Monday morning. And on the Presidential Forum, we'll have very high-level people speaking on observational needs for a global society. And this will address issues like the Paris Accord for climate change and the need for observations on emissions and CO2 and issues connected to human health and security, and just overarching issues will be addressed in the presidential forum. So that's just a start, and then there's 30 other conferences as well.